Hey guys, it is Carl Brown for Guitar Lessons 365.com. Beautiful track from the Beatles today. 2 tracks, actually. We're going to do part of the medley off of Abbey Road. We're going to do Golden Slumbers and Carry That Weight, since they kind of connect so well to one another. They're almost like the same song. So I'm going to do them both together in this one. We're also going to cover, besides all the chords, we're going to cover the solo that happens in Carry That Weight as well. All right, so before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell so you know when I release a new video. And check out my Guitar Academy. I have a free 7-day trial going on right now. The link will be in the description. That'll give you a free 7-day trial to check out all my guitar courses covering everything from guitar tone to technique, lots of technique courses, improvisation, ear training, theory, complete beginner course as well. So please go and check it out if you would. Yeah, nothing to lose, 7 free day trial. All right, so that didn't make any sense, 7 free day. That didn't make any sense. Anyway, you get what I mean. So now let's get to the track here. We're in standard tuning. And I'm just trying to really recreate, obviously this is not on guitar, so I'm really trying to recreate the piano voicings as close as possible, and sometimes, you know, other instrumentation that they're doing. So it might not be the typical way you'd play a 7th chord here or there. I'm really just trying to emulate what's going on the recording instead of just doing block, you know, chord grips that are common on the guitar. All right, so let's start out here with this A minor 7 chord. So that's just a basic A minor chord that you probably already know, hopefully you do, and then you're going to add the 3rd fret there on the high E string. Now the picking that I'm doing through a lot of this is just, once again, trying to emulate what the piano is doing, kind of strumming the top strings, so the higher pitch strings, and then going back and hitting the bass note. So the kind of in this case, it's the open A string. So that's kind of getting that pulse going like that. So that kind of recreates the piano feel better. So we have this. Once there was a way to get back home. So that little part right there is based off of a D minor chord. So we'll start with a D minor. All right, now what I'm still doing that rhythm figure on there. But now what I'm going to do is do that little melodic thing he does. So it sounds great to do it on the guitar. It's pretty easy, so I might as well do it. So I start with just a D minor. And then when I move up here, basically I'm just going to move up the note. You might be using your you know, your ring finger here, it doesn't matter. So I move up to the 5th fret there on the B string, 3rd fret on the G. So I just basically moved what I was doing here on the high E and the B, move it up 2 frets, and pick those 2 strings, and going back and forth between those 2 and the D string. So we have this. Now the rhythm of this is going to change slightly the second time we play it. So the second time we go through this section, I'm going to play this little melodic figure a little bit differently. So watch out for that. So we have this. So we're going to keep going up now to the 6th fret there on the B, 5th fret on the high E. Go back, of course, to the open D. Do that a couple times. Back to the previous 2 notes. Just do it, pick them once, and then the open D once, and then back down for where we started. So we have this. All right, so that's going to be different when we get to this section again a little later in the song. From there we go to a G dominant 7 chord. Once there was a way. That's pretty easy. 1st fret on the high E, open B, G, and D, 2nd fret on the A, 3rd fret on the low E string. So with this. Same kind of strumming style. To get back home. Then it goes to a C chord. So we have this so far. Once there was a way to get back home. All right, now from here we have a little bit quicker chord change. Sounds like this. To get back home, sleep pretty darling, do not cry. All right, so that starts with that. So it's from the C to an E dominant 7 chord. Now once again, you can play an easier way, like this, which is basically just an E major chord. Open, pick up the note on the D string, and then add the 3rd fret there on the B. So that's an E dominant 7 as well. Sounds fine for an E7, but this voicing sounds closer to what's actually going on the piano. So that's why I'm gonna be doing that voicing instead. But if you want to just do the easier version, that's cool too. So this a little bit more difficult version requires the pinky there at the 4th fret on the high E, the 3rd fret there on the B, 4th fret on the G, and then you're gonna bar the 2nd fret on the D and the A with the open low E. So we have this. To get back home, sleep pretty darling, do not cry. So after that E7, goes to an A minor chord. So just hit that once though, and then we're going to turn it into an A minor 7 by just picking up the note on the G string. So make it an open G. And then we have kind of a stretch chord. But once again, this is a D minor add 9 chord. It is not the easiest way to play this type of chord, but it sounds better. It sounds closer to the recording. So you can get away with it, stuff like this, but it sounds horrible. So let's just do it like this. So that does require a stretch. 5th fret there on the A string, 3rd fret there on the D, 2nd on the G string, and then that 5th fret there on the B string. Now you can maybe cheat this and get away with, if you can mute that B string with the bottom of your index finger, you can play the chord like this and get that open E string there instead. That'll make it quite easier to play. Whether you can do that mute correctly, it'll make it a lot easier. So a couple different options. But anyway, we have this like, darling, do not cry. And then the end of this section, and I will sing a lullaby. So that goes back to that G7 again. But now we're going to have a little melodic figure like we did before on the D minor, but now over the G7. So I'm just doing this. I strum the G7 first, and then I play the 2nd fret there on the G and the 1st fret on the B. Go back and hit this G, and then we'll go up to this G dominant 7 bar form. And that is going to be a bar at the 3rd fret, 4th fret there on the G string, and then the 5th fret there on the A. So we can still pick those, because I want to do this. So you hear that. So you're getting that moving line in there. And then back to a C. So all together for that section. Get back home, sleep pretty darling, do not cry, and I will sing a lullaby. All right, now this next section. Golden slumbers fill your eyes, smiles away, you win, you rise, sleep pretty darling, do not cry, and I will sing a lullaby. So it kind of got the same ending that we did before. So that, the Golden Slumbers part is just a C chord. and then it goes to an F major add 9 chord. So we have another add 9. The best way to do this is probably going to be taking your thumb and putting it at the first fret on the low E string, kind of Hendrixing it, all right? So then we can just open up these other fingers to play the actual add 9 chord. You can cheat this a little bit real quick though, and still do a full add 9 chord, just not having that low bass note in there. So if that's uncomfortable for the thumb to go over to the first fret, it's cool. You can still do the full chord by playing the 3rd fret on the D, 2nd fret on the G, 1st fret on the B, and then the 3rd fret on the high E. That's an F major add 9 chord. So either this or add a low bass note in there. It just makes it sound better because it makes it sound fuller. But if you can't do it, don't worry about it. So we have this. Golden slumbers fill your eyes. Back to the C, and then back to the F major add 9. Smiles away, you rise. And then we're back to that same progression that ended the previous section. Sleep, pretty darling, do not cry. I hear it kind of gets more subdued, back to that picking pattern. And then that same G7 figure at the end. And I will sing a lullaby. Now I'm going to go back to the verse again. Once there was a way. And this D minor is going to change here. To get back home. So they had that's going to be the only change here in this section. So when we get to that D minor, instead of going straight up like, it does that, starts that way. But when you get up here to the 5 and 6 fingering, so basically what that means is you pick the 5 and 6 together, open D, and then back to the 5 and 6, and then without going back to the open D, just jump straight back down to the previous chord again, and then do the same thing there. So we have this. So it's just a little difference that he does on the piano, and it's pretty easy to emulate on the guitar as well, so that's why I threw it in there. But everything else is going to stay the same. And then when we get back to the Golden Slumbers section again, it jumps to Carry That Weight. So Carry That Weight starts kind of like this. Boy, you gotta carry that weight, carry that weight a long time. Boy, you're gonna carry that weight, carry that weight a long time. All right, so we'll stop there until we get to the next section. It's completely different. Really cool chord progression coming up though. So here we're just going between that C, so that same strumming pattern really, and did the G7. Carry that way. Back to the C. A long time. So back and forth again. Transition chord, which is a G major chord in first inversion. So very easy to play. Just the one finger there, 2nd fret on the A string, and then the open D, G, and the B with it. All right, and then we get to this next section, which sounds like this. All right, so some cool chords in there. So it starts with that same A minor 7 that we started Golden Slumbers with. So I'm really trying to emulate kind of a lower voicing version of the instrumentation because I'm not getting way up there. I'm not getting way up there, so it's kind of an octave lower. So we have this. And then from there, what we're going to do is a C major triad with D in the bass down to a D minor chord. So what that is 3rd fret there on the high E string, 5th fret on the B and the G, and then you have the D in the bass. All right? So you could technically call this a C add 9 chord as well with the D in the bass or the 9 in the bass. So you take that and then move it down here to a standard D minor. So we have this. So this is happening instrumentally on the recording first. And then we have, like I said before, we're going to do maybe some odd voicings of common chords. This is what I'm talking about. So this is a G dominant 7 chord. I'm playing it this way because I really want this note to be the melody note. So what I'm doing here is 3rd fret on the low E, 2nd fret on the A, 3rd fret there on the D, open G, and then that 3rd fret there on the B with it. And I want that to be the top note you pick, and you can pick it a few times and let the rest of the chord just keep ringing underneath it. Kind of matching the tempo, the instrumentation to what it's using. And then we have a really cool sequence. All right, so what we're gonna do here to make it sound close to it is we're going to play this G in the bass here, 3rd fret there on the low E, along with the C there on the A string, so at the 3rd fret. And then I'm gonna play the F on the high E string. So in between that, we're gonna let that open D ring, open G, and open B ring. So we have a very interesting. Then you release that, the F note down to the open high E string, so we have this. And then we're going to resolve all of this to a regular standard C major chord. So you might want to play it differently since you just played, you've been holding this note with your pinky. You can just leave it there and play a regular C major chord on top. And what I'm doing now is I want this note to be the top note. So only strum to the B string and then hit the open G. And that'll get all those lines in there. So we had this. So we all together. Pretty cool, huh? From there, the second half of the chord progression is a little bit more straightforward. You can kind of just strum these. Starts with an F major bar chord. That's a bar at the 1st fret, and then the 2nd fret there on the G string, 3rd fret on the D, 3rd fret on the A. Really cool transition to a B minor 7 flat 5, or you might call it a B half diminished chord. Fancy name, easy to play, it sounds awesome. It's a 2nd fret there on the A string, 3rd fret there on the D, 2nd fret on the G, 3rd fret on the B. So just those 4 middle strings. So. All right, so this is obviously going on underneath the solo section, by the way, too. So I'll teach you the solo in a second, but so we had this instrumentation, and then the solo comes in over this second half riff that started with the F. And then, so right now you're hearing the solo, but this is just the chords underneath it, and then they're gonna do vocals over it. So we have an F, to that B half diminished, to just a standard E major chord. Then move that to an A minor. All right, and then he just basically sings over that whole progression like this. So real quick, I'm going to show you this quick transition that happens after the vocal section before we get back to the chorus. And it's just this. So what's going on there? It starts with that, just a quick, it's right out of this breakdown. So it's that G7 real quick to a C major chord. And then what you're going to do is jump up here. This is probably the easiest way to do it. You're going to strum twice a C major chord with G in the bass. So a C major in second version is what that would be. So that's just a typical, we can do it as a simple, or you can just do it like this. But I just thought it sounded better. It kind of sounds closer to what they're doing there, so that's why I'm not doing it here. Because there's not a lot of movement going on there, so it sounds better up here. So it's a C major here if you played that C on the A string and then borrowing the 5th fret across the D, G, and the B. But add the G along with it too, on which is the 3rd fret on the low E string. So you're borrowing across the 3rd fret on the A and the low E. So you hit that twice, and then resolve that to the G7 chord we did earlier. And that was in Golden Slumbers. And then resolve to the C. So we have this. Breakdown. Back. You gotta carry that way. All right, same thing there. All right, so let's take a look at the solo real quick, and then we'll be finished. Solo sounds like this. So short but sweet. Got a cool little thing in it because it goes between an E flat and an E natural note in there. So we have this. So that slides into the 7th fret there on the D string. Over the 5th fret on the G, and then back to the 7 real quick. So then we have a kind of a pre-bend here. It's a half step pre-bend. So this is when we're bending to this E flat here. So you pre-bend the 7th fret a half step on the G string, release, pull off to 5, over to 7 on the D string. So we have this. All right, then we go back to the 5, 7, 5. So we have this. All right, now we're going to slide up to an E natural. Okay, so the previous E we heard was an E flat, and then you grab the 10th fret there on the B string real quick. So we have this. And then after that note, kind of do a half step bend again now to that E flat. So off the 7th fret, bend up a half step, then 7. So kind of back and forth between 7 and 5 a couple times. And then you're going to end the solo with, which is playing 7 on the D string, pull off to 5, and we're back on to 7. So we have this all together for the solo. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a great section on Abbey Road. I love that Golden Slumbers and then how it goes in to carry that weight, and it's got a really nice little tasteful solo in there as well. I hope you guys enjoyed learning it. I'll see you again soon for guitarlessons365.com.